Hello, and welcome to Return to Regalia, an Underland Chronicles reread podcast. I'm Oona.
And I'm Lily.
Today we'll be covering chapters 22 and 23 of the Prophecy of Bane, in which Gregor and Ares escape with the baby Bane and take him to Ripred. Where we left off, Gregor was about to plunge his sword into the Bane, but chapter 22 starts with Gregor redirecting his blade before he can. His sword hits the wall so hard it breaks in two. Gregor initially asks, "Boots?" Even though he knows it isn't her, because the way the Bane cried, "Mama," was so similar to how Boots sounds when she's upset. Gregor shines his flashlight into the cave, looking for the legendary colossal rat, and realizes what he's looking at. The Bane is a baby, which explains a lot, like why he hasn't become king of the rats yet. Gregor knows he's supposed to kill him, but he can't do it. He drops his broken sword and tries to comfort the little rat, but he gets scared and cries for his mama again. So here's a plot hole. Why is the baby Bane speaking English in this scene? Because he should be just speaking in rat, right?
Oh, because they have to learn it.
Yeah, because the rats have their own squeak language. It's weird that he's, crying mama in English.
Well, he could be older than we think he is, right? Because of the way rats, grow.
That's true.
And maybe, let's say he's, a couple months old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would still be, I don't know, maybe a couple years on rat or something. I don't know.
That's true.
And if you think about, human royalty, they, learn things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, languages of, other countries.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I guess
not
it makes
that he'd
sense.
be diplomatic.
Not that he's trying to be diplomatic,
Yeah.
but because, everyone speaks English in the Underland if they want to speak to each other, because the humans just have taken over, so all the animals have to learn English. So I guess it makes sense. I still think it's weird that, he's crying for his mom
that's
in
such a good point.
English, though. You'd think that he would do that in his first language, which is presumably rat.
No, you're so right. That's, actual big plot hole, for sure.
And I forgot to point it out last episode, but Goldshard and Snare also had no reason to be speaking English during their fight, because they were just talking to each other.
Yeah, it's that thing in movies where it's it takes place in France or whatever, but for the ease of the audience so they don't have to read freaking subtitles.
Yeah.
They just speak in English all of a sudden.
I think it makes sense in this book though, because
yeah, how could you do it?
Yeah, right, exactly. There's just a handful of moments where it's a plot hole that they're speaking English, but I'm willing to look past it.
Yeah.
Gregor yells for Ares to join him, and he comes in ready for a fight, but when Gregor picks up the baby rat and explains he's the Bane, Ares is doubtful. He thinks the baby rat might be a decoy to fool Gregor, or maybe it's actually a mouse. But upon closer inspection, he has to admit it truly is the only white rat he's ever seen. They consider the possibility that there are two white rats, but Ares concludes that that would be highly improbable. Gregor tells Ares that they can't kill a baby, and Ares warns him that the Regalians won't care.
The thing that stands out to me most in this section is just how Ares talks, just both of these chapters. It's really interesting to just see how he forms his sentences and the way he thinks.
Yeah, have you noticed anything in particular?
I mean, it's just very formal.
Yeah.
And old Englishy. I have to admit, I haven't listened to your part about the language, your little tangent about language yet. So no spoilers for myself on that, I guess, because I want to listen to it. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he uses fewer contractions than a modern English speaker would. And I think that must be just that the Regalians kind of speak an old-fashioned English. But I think that this is interesting that this is one of the first times that we really hear Ares have a lot to say.
Exactly.
He's definitely had conversations with Gregor throughout this book, but he hasn't spoken a lot.
Yeah.
And now he's really he's putting forth his opinion about things, and he's they're kind of arguing, not really arguing, but they're having a conversation that's very much the two of them, instead of Ares just telling Gregor something or asking Gregor something. They're actually having kind of a debate, which is really big for them.
Yeah, that's why it stood out to me, I think, because this is the first time where he's we can see him processing out loud, and he's like,
yeah,
yes, no, I don't know, it's highly improbable, it must be the Bane, oh, he's
yeah,
like freaking out.
Yeah, I love how, because he's so quiet and kind of reserved the rest of the time, and now he's really just like off balance, and he's been caught off guard, and I love that we get to see him kind of like think out loud.
I'm also like, do we think, like, we've only really met like the royal family, right? Like, do we think that the non-royalty speak differently?
I have been wondering about this actually, because we really only interact with like Luxa and her family, which are all kind of in royalty, even though Vicus and Solovet aren't like technically royal, they're like in the same sphere of royalty.
Yes.
And then like, I guess we hear from like Marith and like some soldiers maybe.
But that's also like generally like in a class society, like I feel like soldiers are like higher up normally.
Right. He could also be from some type of nobility. Yeah, no, we really do not get very much interaction with just like the common folk of Regalia. And I have a lot of questions about like how much do they know about the Overland? Because like Luxa and Vicus know a little bit about the Overland, but I'm wondering, is that something that only the royalty care about knowing or get to know about? And like, what do the common people like think about that, and how do they speak? Yeah, I really like thinking about that kind of thing, but we just like don't get any of that in this book.
Yeah, and like who all like gets to have a bond with the bat? Like, is it commoners too? Like,
I assume so. I wonder if it's like, I think probably everyone can have a bond. I don't think I've seen any evidence that it wouldn't be, but like maybe they just don't have as big of a ceremony. Like Luxa describes when a bat and a human bond, they have like a big feast or whatever, and maybe it's like a smaller occasion if you don't have money.
Yeah.
But we don't even know if like Regalians use money.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would give anything to learn more about the lower classes of Regalia.
I think what you and Nate were talking about like a prequel is actually necessary. Like, because I feel like she could put in some of this stuff.
I know,
seamlessly.
Right? Yes.
I mean, because like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes like had, or Snakes and Songbirds, whatever it is.
Yeah. I always forget.
Like has like little information that like really develops the world a lot. Like not a lot of effort. Like you learn a lot.
Yeah, it would be so wicked awesome if she did something like that for the Underland Chronicles. Just like, yeah, I've actually been thinking about it a lot since Nate and I were talking about it last episode, and it's just like, damn, I would give anything for that. Okay, yeah, so Gregor notes that Ares seems off balance and distraught. He flutters around the room and bumps into a wall, which Gregor's never seen a bat do before. And Ares is just like, yeah, obviously I'm bumping into walls. Like, shit's getting real. Ares tries to impress upon Gregor the weight of this decision, but Gregor remains certain that he can't harm the Bane. The baby escapes Gregor's hold, and they chase him into the cone-shaped room with the 3 rat corpses. The Bane nuzzles Goldshard and cries "Mama" again. And it describes it like getting, like, he's got, like, his mother's blood all over him and stuff, and he's, like, curling up in her neck wound and shit. Like, it is so distressing.
It really, really is.
Gregor realizes that Goldshard is the Bane's mom, and with her final words, she was trying to tell Gregor not to kill her baby. Ares senses a large group of rats coming and urges Gregor to make a choice. Because he can't kill the Bane, and he doesn't want to leave it here for the other rats to use as a tool, he ends up deciding to take the Bane with them. Ares is shocked, but he allows Gregor to climb onto his back with the baby. Just as a dozen rats enter the cone, Ares takes off down a tunnel. Rats continue to leap at them, and Gregor can't help defend because he left his broken sword behind. Amateur hour.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rookie move, man. Like, a broken sword is still a sword.
The Bane starts shrieking, and Ares tells Gregor to keep him quiet so the other rats don't hear. Gregor tries calming the baby with his voice and by stroking it, but he can tell his humanness is scaring him. Eventually, he gets a candy bar out of his backpack and puts a piece in the Bane's mouth. He immediately stops shrieking and demands more chocolate, And after another piece, the Bane relaxes into Gregor.
Yeah, this is me right here.
The chocolate calms you.
Yeah. I'm freaking out because of homework. I just need a piece of chocolate.
That's what it's all about, honestly.
Mm-hmm. The real question is it milk or dark chocolate?
Ooh, that's a good question. What candy bar do you think Gregor found in the museum?
Probably like a Hershey's or something. It's probably milk chocolate. It's probably not like 78%.
Yeah, so that like the fancy like yeah. Yeah, I guess it probably is like a Hershey's or something.
I mean, it's probably something that someone was like carrying around in their pocket.
Yeah.
What if it was like a vintage candy bar?
Ooh, that'd be fun. I feel like Gregor notes when he picks it up though that he doesn't think it seems that old.
Oh.
Yeah, it might be gross if it was too old.
There are a lot of preservatives in those things.
That's true too. And it's inside like a plastic wrapper.
Mm-hmm. Missed sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah, they could have name dropped it like an actual candy bar.
Yeah, like Gregor found a Hershey's TM. It lasted all these years. And it was still delicious.
That's a selling point. Mm-hmm. You can use Hershey's to calm baby rats. Gregor and Ares wind up back in the cone room, and Gregor notes how Ares seems to be losing his patience with the whole situation. Ares points out that the rats are tracking them by smell, and Gregor realizes he can trick their noses by smearing his gross squid sucker bandage on the entrance to each tunnel leading out of the cone.
Nasty, but smart.
Yeah, super smart. I just love him being like so resourceful and thinking things through even in the heat of the moment like this. And before this, he's like lamenting how he can't help Ares and like Ares is doing all of the work and he doesn't feel like he's pulling his weight. And then he pulls this out of nowhere and it's like it's the thing that saves them. They leave before the rats catch up to them, and Gregor hears the rats fighting in the cone about which way they went. Ares stops by a stream to drink, and after they've rested, he suggests they follow the stream because it might lead out of the waterway. Gregor compares this to how he escaped the palace his first night in Regalia by following the sound of running water down to the river.
Also, the way that Ares just, like, puts his face in the river.
Yeah.
Like, his whole head.
I would, too, if I had been, like, flying so much. And
it's, like, vibes. Like, I'll, like, get to the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I haven't had any water, and I'll drink, like, 5 bottles.
Yeah. Yep. I've been there.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
Yeah, for real. For real. They fly into a huge cavern with a river running through it, and Ares points out that they've been here before. Gregor spots the remnants of a broken bridge and realizes this is where Tic died on the Prophecy of Bane quest. They land on the far side of the riverbank to rest. The Bane has fallen asleep in Gregor's arms, and Ares is exhausted too. Gregor tells him he'll keep watch, but before his bat falls asleep, he adds, "Ares, you were amazing back there." Ares just says, "I was not bad," and passes out.
It's so cute.
I love that part. Gregor sits with the Bane in his lap and watches him toss and turn in his sleep. He thinks about Boots and wonders why he isn't crying about losing her. He remembers crying for Tic when she died, so he's confused why he isn't crying now. Then he recalls how Luxa told him once that she hadn't cried since her parents died, and he thinks maybe something like that is happening to him now.
I think this is described, like, so realistically, like, how an 11-year-old would, like, actually think about it. Because, like, you and I probably, and, like, most adults would be, like, thinking of it more, like, analytically. Maybe, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or, like, more technically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm in denial. Or, like, I am numb. Or, like, have words for it.
Right. Like, we would know that we were in shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Gregor is kind of just like, well, that reminds me of what Luxa said.
Yeah.
And maybe something like that is happening to me now.
Yeah.
Gregor thinks Sandwich was right. Because the rats killed Boots, he couldn't kill the Bane. But he also doesn't know if he could have killed him even if Boots had lived. Gregor tries to think through their next steps. He can't take the Bane back to the rats because Goldshard died trying to protect him from being their pawn. He can't take him to Regalia because the humans would probably kill the Bane, and even if they didn't, the rats would attack the city to get him back. Gregor even briefly considers taking the Bane to the Overland, but the narration says, his mom wouldn't have any part in raising a 10-foot rat, especially when Boots had, okay, so what did that leave? That thing is just, that line, like, especially when Boots had and it gets cut off and it starts a new paragraph and he just goes on and he's like, okay, so what did that leave?
Oh, yeah.
That's so intense. There's so much going on in that interrupted line. Like, he's really just repressing this Boots thing and, like, trying not to think about it. And I'm wondering what the rest of that sentence was gonna be. Like, especially when Boots had died and therefore his mom wouldn't want to raise a different baby. Like, or that she would be even more mad at Gregor bringing back a rat because Gregor had, like, let Boots die or something. Like, is Gregor afraid that his mom is gonna blame him? There's just, like, so much to unpack there.
Yeah, that is interesting. I feel like his mom would, though.
She would definitely be, like, out of her mind distraught.
Yeah.
For sure.
Also, like, he said, like, oh, I don't know if he's like, I couldn't kill the Bane because Boots died, and then he's like, I don't know if I'd be able to do it, like, if she hadn't died, and I feel like he definitely would not have.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think either way he would have made the right choice to not kill a child.
Yeah.
Alright.
There's only one thing worse than a rat.
A child?
A child.
So stupid. Okay, where were we? Gregor thinks about the questers from the Prophecy of Grey trip and realizes that only 3 of the original group are currently still alive: himself, Ares, and Ripred. Gregor wonders if Ripred would still want him to kill the Bane if he knew it was a baby. By the time Ares wakes up, Gregor is ready to present his grand plan. They're going to take the Bane to Ripred.
Yay.
Ares is about to object, but Gregor interrupts and tells him he can't disagree unless he has a better plan. Ares says, I do not have a better plan, but this one has no possible good endings. And the chapter ends with Gregor replying, probably not. So, should we give it a try? And I mean, Ares is right. There are no good endings. Like, not just because they took the Bane to Ripred, but, like...
because of the world they live in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're just doomed. There's no good endings for anyone in this situation.
Yeah.
It's kind of the crux of the whole series, is that no matter what they do, it's bad.
Yeah. My first thought when Gregor was, like, talking about the people that died from the first quest is, like, Sandwich was wrong then, right? Because he had, like, a number that would survive.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
But
it was right at the end of the first book. Yes. I remember that.
Yeah, it was 8 that were alive.
Yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, he can't be thinking about that now. Except he was just thinking about Sandwich. He was like, oh, Sandwich was right. Like, yeah. And I would be like, Sandwich was wrong. Like,
I think that he would still technically be right because, like, at the end of the quest, there were 8 alive.
That's probably really true.
Yeah.
Never mind. Scratch everything I said. That's not even important.
No, I like where your head's at, though. Like, Gregor should be thinking more critically about Sandwich. Yeah, but we won't get that for another couple books. Alright, let's get into chapter 23. Gregor sleeps for a few hours, and when he wakes, they begin their journey to Ripred's nest, which Twitch-Tip told them was near where they first met him in book 1. So they retrace their steps from the broken bridge. They stop at a stream, and Ares prompts Gregor to remember that this is where he stopped Henry from killing Ripred in his sleep. Gregor says he couldn't figure out if Ares knew about Henry's murder plan back then, and Ares says, it was one of the many things Henry neglected to mention to me, and Gregor drops the subject.
That's so sad.
I know, right?
Because, like, in this world, like, the actions of your bond really matter to your own reputation.
Yeah.
And that would friggin' suck. Like, I'd be pissed.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody would be.
I wonder if Ares tried to talk to Henry after that, because I remember that Luke's talks to Henry and is like, what were you thinking? Like, we need the rat to guide us or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if Ares ever joined in and was like, hey, dude, what the fuck? But I also don't know if that's Ares' thing. But I don't know. He stands up to Gregor a lot. At the beginning of this book, he was pushing back against what Gregor was telling him to do. But maybe that's only a lesson that he learned after Henry died.
Yeah, Gregor's also younger, too, and, like, they have less experience together. Like, yeah. I could imagine that, like, it would be, like, I don't know, kind of like it is in our society where it's like, I don't know, awkward to like talk about feelings.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what was up with that? Craziness.
Yeah. I'm wondering if Ares, like, just because we know that he kind of bonded with Henry for his, like, political power. I wonder if Ares is just, like, afraid to stand up to him because of that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or is, like, I don't want to get on Henry's bad side because I know what he's capable of.
Yeah, that's sad.
Lots to think about.
Do bats have a support system other than their bonds? Because, like, clearly humans do in this world. Like, they have family that they're tied to and, like, helper, like, assistants and stuff.
I think that the average bat probably does, but Ares does not. Like, he seems like he's a loner, and he never talks about, like, family or friends. I mean, neither does Aurora, but, like, Aurora doesn't talk a lot at all. I mean, in the next book, we meet Nike, and she's the daughter of Queen Athena of the Bats, so, like, we know that they have, like, the concept of family. But, yeah, that's interesting about support system, especially when the bat, like, goes to live in the humans' world with their bond. I wonder if any humans, like, go to live in the Bats' land, or if maybe that's just totally inaccessible to humans.
Does it be, like, in the air?
Yeah.
Have we talked about before that, like, bats actually bump into things all the time?
No.
In real life, they found out, like, recently that, like everyone was like, whoa, how do bats, like, not bump into things? Like, oh my god, that's so crazy that their echolocation is so good. No, actually, they bump into each other and they bump into other things literally all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Isn't that so funny?
Did they just like watched bats enough to be like, oh, look, those idiots?
I guess so, or like somehow they like tracked them. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You can't echolocate perfectly all the time.
Nope. But can you imagine like two like 8-foot bats like bumping?
That would be mad. Yeah, that would be a catastrophe.
Yeah.
That could be bad.
I really don't want to stay on topic today, apparently.
No, you're fine. That's what it's all about. As they fly, the Bane begins to cry for his mother again, and Gregor feeds him the rest of the first chocolate bar. They enter the dripping sulfurous tunnel on foot and reach the spot where they first met the spiders, Gox and Treflex. When they find Treflex's corpse, they decide to keep moving. It's a miserable walk, even worse than the first time they were here. The narration says, Gregor had been eager to find his father instead of dreading the moment when they next met, and he had been carrying Boots on his back, not a rat in his arms. Couple things about this part. First of all, Gregor is dreading the moment when he next sees his dad because he's gonna have to tell him that Boots got killed.
Yeah.
Which is just terrible. And Gregor, he's not letting himself think about that too much because he's trying to stay on topic and he's like repressing that. But it's also in the back of his mind of like, I'm gonna have to tell my parents that Boots died. That is horrific.
And it's sad that, like, that's the part that's, like, he's focusing on of any of it. Like,
yeah.
Not even, like, how he's feeling. Like, the fact that he's gonna have to tell his family and how sad they're gonna be.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. He's not even, like, thinking, like, well, I am sad because my sister is dead. He's like, that's nothing compared to what my parents are gonna be. Oh, my God. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's so heavy.
I know.
The other thing I like about this quote is that he's comparing Boots to the Bane, and there's a lot of this in these chapters, like the parallels between the Bane and Boots, and I really love that.
Yeah, like when he's like petting the Bane's ears, I feel like he's done something similar with like Boots' hair or something like that before.
Yeah.
Like, she's described as like soft.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that when he first finds the Bane like crying, Gregor says like, you're okay, baby, which is like what they say to Boots.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have like a fully thought out thing about that, but it's very interesting how closely the Bane and Boots are paralleled in these chapters.
Yeah, like maybe that's helping him not be so sad.
Yeah, true.
Like in the moment, like he's able to like it doesn't feel so real maybe that she's gone or something.
And yeah, I think that you're right that even if Boots had lived, he wouldn't have been able to kill the Bane. But I think that Boots having died, he is more, I don't know, like focused on the Bane's innocence. Like not thinking as much about his duty to like fulfill the prophecy. He's thinking more about like being empathetic and making the right choice, like morally, instead of like thinking with the Regalians' rationale of like, you have to kill this monster. Yeah, it's just like more obvious that the Bane is a baby because Boots is missing. Ares has to hop along on foot as they walk through dripping water for hours.
Dripping egg water.
For hours. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
And Ares has to, like, hop instead of fly. He's probably, like, super claustrophobic being in the cave and stuff.
I hate the smell of eggs.
Like, the sulfur smell.
I don't like the smell of, like, regular eggs. Just cooking, like...
Really?
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I don't even know... Because, you know, I was, like, vegan for, like, 4 years or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
and then I eat eggs now, and, like, the smell, like... I can't cook eggs myself. It, like, grosses me out too much for some reason. But I'll eat them. Isn't that so weird?
That's interesting.
And sometimes, like, the eggs are, like, too egg-like, and then I can't eat them.
No, I get that, too, though. Like, sometimes I'll eat eggs and just be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like, that was gross.
Weird.
I'm like, it's fine, though.
And I can smell them in baked goods.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, a lot.
That's so interesting.
I can also taste, like, butter and stuff. Like, I can often be like, this has butter, doesn't it? I don't know. It's really weird.
You've got, like, hyper senses. Maybe you're a sensier.
Yeah, maybe. Only for animal products.
Yeah. Your keen vegan senses.
Yeah.
Have you seen Scott Pilgrim?
That's what I was just thinking of.
The vegan powers.
Yeah. I have this really funny sticker on my laptop that's like this cute little ghost, and it says spooky vegans. And I just love it so much.
Is that like a reference to something?
Nope. I just like it.
Just spooky vegans. Nice. When Gregor and Ares finally exit the tunnel, Gregor collapses on the ground and the Bane burrows up under his shirt.
Aww.
Ares tells him that a group of rats is coming toward them, but they agree that's what they were hoping for, so they wait for the rats to surround them. Ripred appears and says, "If I had known you were coming, I'd have fixed the place up," which I just love.
I hear his voice, like, so clearly.
Yeah.
I don't know what it sounds like to you, but, like...
Well, I always hear the audiobooks when I read.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so I always hear his, like, scratchy voice.
I mean, that's how it is in my head, too. Like, if I'd have known you were coming, I'd have fixed the place up.
That's
like...
basically how the audiobook sounds.
If I had known that you were coming, I'd have fixed the place up.
Yeah.
I should just read it.
I love Ripred. He always has, like, a line to enter on. Like, I feel like he was like, oh, Gregor and Ares are here. Better think of a good opening line.
He also, like, just does, like, ever since we talked about it, he just really reminds me of Haymitch, like, so much.
Yeah.
It's, like, really weird.
No, I agree. They're two of a kind. Ever since we saw Snakes and Songbirds and Snakes, I've been thinking about Hunger Games a lot, and I think I should just reread them.
I also want to reread them, and I didn't even like them that much, but I'm like...
Yeah, I think I read them in middle school once, and I was like, I really liked the first book, and then, like, the second and third were, like, whatever.
Yes.
I do really like the movies, though. Maybe I'll just rewatch all the movies.
Can I come?
Yeah.
Yay.
We should have, like, a Hunger Games marathon. That would be sick.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, Nate has only seen the first movie, I think, so we should definitely.
No, I think it'd be fun to watch, like, having seen the prequel.
Right. Yeah, going back to the...
Because I've seen, like,
movie.
Now that I saw it, and, like, my phone must know that I loved it or something, because, like, I keep seeing videos that are, like, fan theories.
Ooh.
Of, like, that the president of District 13 is, like, Lucy Gray, or, like, related to Lucy Gray. And if Katniss is related to Lucy Gray, because, like, Katniss is, like, a Covey thing.
I have seen that theory on Tumblr. I was scrolling through the tag on Tumblr for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes for, like, a while, and I saw a bunch of, like, fan theories. I was actually looking for a post that I had seen randomly because I thought that it would relate to something we talked about on the podcast, and so I was scrolling through the tag for, like, hours, and I ended up staying up way too late taking notes for that chapter because I couldn't find the post. I was just, like, reading everything else in the tag.
Oh, man. Did you see that, like, the main actor like, actress, was, like, going to not do the movie. Like, she turned it down.
Really?
Yeah, she fully turned it down. She's like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And it's because she was, like, away from home filming, like, a new Snow White or something. Like, for months. And she was really isolated from her friends and family during that time. And she's like, I literally just have to go home. Like, I'm so sorry. But then she found out that her boyfriend was cast as that, like, dude who, like, went into the Hunger Games to, like, protest it and stuff.
Oh, Sejanus?
Yes. Her boyfriend in real life
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's
and
cool.
So she was like, okay, I can do it because my boyfriend's going to be on set. Like, I'll have someone that I know.
That's so interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. And she called them back and she's like, do you have someone for Lucy Girl already? And they're like, no, we're so desperate. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
That's cool. She's like so good at singing too. I've been listening to the soundtrack.
She has a YouTube channel.
What?
Yeah, where she does like covers. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I've like fallen fully into the fandom and I haven't even read the book.
I haven't read the book either.
Yeah.
No, the movie was fucking excellent.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I don't even understand. That was the best movie I've seen in a while.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Okay, enough about Hunger Games.
We're such fangirls. Yeah. Me wearing a My Hero Academia.
I saw your shirt. Yeah, that's cute.
Thanks.
I never got into it, but my friends were, so I know a little bit about it.
Yeah, I like this. Is my favorite character.
Nice.
She like has the frog superpower. Anyways.
Okay, Gregor.
Yeah, Gregor.
It's Gregor time.
Gregor.
All right, so Ripred appears, gives his funny line, and Gregor says he's only here to give Ripred a present in return for bringing him Twitch Tip. He pulls up his shirt to reveal the Bane, and all the rats except Ripred gasp. The Bane runs toward Ripred, but when the older rat hisses at him, he scampers back to Ares. Gregor recalls how Ripred hissed the same way at Boots and says, "You don't like little kids, do you?" And Ripred replies, "Not this one in particular," which is like very loaded, both Gregor's question and Ripred's answer. Because later we find out that Ripred had a family that all died, and he had children.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So I think that his aversion to children now is so interesting. I don't know what to make of it exactly.
So sad. He just doesn't want to like feel compassion towards anyone because like what if they leave?
Yeah. But yeah, Gregor just like doesn't know that about him, so he's just like, you don't like little kids, do you? And it's like, but then Ripred's answer, "Not this one in particular," is also interesting, and I'm wondering if it's more than just he doesn't like the fact that it's the Bane. I have a thing later that we can get into a little more, but like maybe Ripred has more of a personal connection to the Bane and Goldshard. I have like a theory that I saw somewhere. I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah.
Ripred reminds Gregor that he was supposed to kill the Bane and implies that he might do the deed himself, but Gregor says, "I don't think you'd kill a pup." Ripred just says, "Ha!" And Gregor doesn't know what that means vis-a-vis the infanticide. Gregor revises his statement and says that he doesn't think Ripred would kill the Bane because if he did, the other rats would never follow him. Ripred pounces on Gregor, smacking him into the ground and pinning him with one paw. He threatens to kill Gregor, and instead of admitting that he'd considered this possibility, Gregor says, "Okay, but I think I'd better warn you that if we fight, you've only got a 50-50 chance of winning." Which is complete bullshit, because he doesn't even have a sword right now.
Wait, yeah, so true. Like, Ripred has claws and teeth, like...
Yeah, like, even though Gregor is a rager, there's no universe in which he beats Ripred, especially if Ripred already has him pinned to the ground.
Yeah, so true. All it takes is, like, a bite to the fucking throat.
Yeah. Ripred's basically most of the way to killing Gregor as it is. And Gregor's just like, "You should know that I'm a rager too."
I'm not intimidated by you. Even though he's like, if I had been standing up, like, my head would be, like, spilling onto the floor right now.
Yeah, he's like, thank God I was sitting down. So yeah, Gregor reveals that he's a rager, and all the rats, including Ripred, begin to laugh uproariously. Ripred even falls sideways off of Gregor, but Gregor doesn't sit up. He just stays lying on the ground and says, "It's true, Twitch Tip smelled it on me. Ask Ares." I love that he's just like, I might as well just stay lying down. What a mood. The narration says, no one asked Ares. They were guffawing too hard. That was one thing you had to give to the rats. They enjoyed a good joke. I love just the, like, when he's like, ask Ares, and then the narration is immediately like, no one asked Ares.
Yeah.
Ripred eventually gets up and dismisses the other rats, and once they're gone, he has Gregor tell him the story of the whole quest. Gregor gets all the way up to the part where Howard and Andromeda leave with Marith, but then he gets choked up and Ares has to finish telling the story. Ripred tells them, I am sorry for your losses. And the narration reads, that was the thing about Ripred. 1 minute he was about to kill you, and the next he seemed to understand it was all you could do not to curl up into a ball and die.
Almost like he's been there himself.
Yeah, he absolutely has.
It's so sad.
I love the moments of realness from Ripred, because so much of the time he's putting on this character of being, like, more cruel or more dangerous than he actually is or wants to be. But he knows when the right moment is to be gentle. I think we get it in the first book after Tick dies and Gregor is, like, breaking down over it. Ripred is like, we have to keep moving, but he says it, like, gently, and Gregor is surprised by how, I don't know, almost compassionate it is. And this is another moment where Ripred is like, I can't make fun of anyone here, I just need to be real. Mm-hmm. And I love that Ripred can, like, pick his moments to be genuine. He asks Gregor what he's supposed to do with the Bane, and Gregor suggests that Ripred try to raise him so he doesn't turn into a monster like he would have if Snare got hold of him. Ripred asks, you thought I'd be its daddy? And I might actually try and edit in a clip of the audiobook here because the way that Paul Bamer says this line is hilarious to me.
You thought I'd be its daddy?
Yeah, that's what the audiobook sounds like.
You thought I'd be its daddy?
Just use my audio. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you can voice the whole book. Mm-hmm. Gregor says Ripred could be the Bane's teacher and another rat could take on the role of parenting him for 8 years. Ripred reveals that the Bane will be fully grown within a year, and Ares confirms that most creatures in the Underland reach maturity more quickly than humans. Gregor asks, how do you teach it everything it has to know? And Ripred replies, what does it really need to know? To eat, to fight, to find a mate, to hate everyone who is not a rat? It doesn't take long to learn these things. It's so interesting to me that he ranks hatred among the most important survival skills for a rat. Like, it's just part of life to hate everyone who isn't a rat, and it's right up there with eating food and fighting and finding a mate. Mm-hmm. Like, hating everyone who isn't a rat is so essential to being a rat.
And it's, like, so inherent to their nature. Like, It doesn't even take that long to teach.
Exactly.
Which, like, I think that's true in humans, mm-hmm. like, too. Like, teaching racism isn't that hard mm-hmm. in the grand scheme of things.
Right, especially if you're, like, growing up surrounded by a society that, like, runs on it. Yeah. Gregor points out that Ripred could teach him other things, like what he knows about the Overland. Ripred concedes that he has spent a lot of time in libraries at night. Gregor asks, you come up and read books? And Ripred says, read them, eat them, whatever mood strikes me.
Can you just imagine a gigantic rat, like, sneaking into a library and fucking eating books?
I know, right?
And then librarians coming in being like, sorry, why is there, like, a human-sized rat bite out of my books?
I was picturing the same thing.
And he's like
yeah, like, what poor librarian is coming into work the next morning to find, like, a whole shelf of books just, like, shredded and devoured?
I just thought of something awful. You know, like, how most of the time, like, when you have a mice or rat problem, the way you find out is, like, by seeing their poop.
Yeah.
And his poop would be massive. Oh my God. Like the size of a shoe. Like a gigantic shoe.
I hate that so much. I did not consider that. Oh my God, those poor librarians.
They'd be like, what? They'd be like, sorry, did a gigantic dog, like, come in here in the middle of the night? Like,
oh my God.
What about security cameras?
Yeah, I was thinking about the logistics of this. Like, I think I talked about this when we were covering book 1, but, like, how is Ripred getting into libraries?
Because rats can like, you know, scurry through like small areas. Like, isn't it like a third of the size of their body or something like that? Like,
Ooh.
I don't know. They can like really get in there.
Yeah.
Like squeak in there.
I know that cats can fit through any hole that is larger than its head because the skull is like the widest part of it, and other like you can just squeeze in the rest of the body. I wonder if rats are the same way.
And rats have small heads.
Yeah. But I just like, I guess we don't know all of the entrances to the overland, but like, how is Ripred going up to the surface of New York and like getting into a library? Like, he can't go out on the street, so he has to find an entrance that's like into a library directly.
Except for that, in the age of TikTok, I don't know if you've seen those TikToks of that like human dressing up in a rat suit and crawling around the subway.
What? No, I don't. I'm not on TikTok.
Okay, I've seen it on YouTube where like this person dresses up in a rat suit and crawls on all fours like in the subway. And it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, this is normal. Like the joke is like that everything is normal in New York. Like nothing's weird, basically. But like,
oh my god,
maybe it would pass nowadays.
Yeah, maybe Ripred could just get away with that. Oh my god.
There's another video of this like rat in a subway. It's like a real rat though, and it's like dragging an entire pizza slice.
I have seen that one. Yeah. You know what? Maybe the New Yorkers would just be like, hey, whatever, man. That rat wants to go check out a library book. Let's let him do it. Who am I to judge?
Oh my god.
Ripred finally gives in and promises not to kill the Bane. Like Ares, he also warns Gregor that the Regalians won't agree with what he's done. Gregor says, I don't care. If they think I'm going to do their dirty work, they can think again. Ripred approves of this, saying, that's the stuff, boy. You're a rager. Don't let them push you around.
I love how he's making fun of it before and now he's like,
yeah,
use it.
Yes.
Fucking use all you can.
Yeah, I love it. Like, he was making fun of it before, and now I feel like in some ways he's still kind of poking fun at Gregor, like, oh yeah, you tell him, boy. But like, he's also like, there's a tone of like, we're on a team because we're both ragers, and like, we're not gonna let anyone push us around because we're ragers. And I also just love Gregor being like, well, he was never really into the warrior thing, but now that he sees that the Regalians are really like trying to use him for things, like in the last episode, Nate and I were talking about how Gregor and Ares find out that the Bane is a baby and suddenly the roles that they were supposed to fulfill aren't what they thought they were. And this is more of that. Like, Gregor is being like, no, I'm not gonna fulfill a role just because that's what the prophecy says or that's what the Regalians say. Mm-hmm. Like, if I have to be your warrior, I'm gonna do it my way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's powerful. Gregor insists that he is a rager, and Ripred says he knows, but reminds him that he's a new rager, not an old veteran rager like himself. Gregor agrees and notes that he doesn't even have a sword, so he couldn't have fought Ripred. Ripred asks about Gregor's echolocation, and he admits he hasn't improved. Ripred tells him to keep practicing, and Gregor just says okay because he's too tired to argue about it. Gregor asks if Ripred will be able to handle the Bane, and Ripred gives this very interesting reply. If it's anything like its mother, I'll have my paws full. What do you think this means? How well did Ripred know Goldshard?
That sounds like something you say, like, about a friend or, like, a partner.
Yeah, I think there's, like, some history there.
Or, like, yeah, I suppose it could be, like, a nemesis.
Ooh.
But I'm seeing it as more, like, you have to know a lot about someone to say that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, like, someone he didn't like. It's, like...
someone who has a reputation, if not, like, a personal connection to you.
Yeah.
I guess I always assumed that Ripred vaguely knew about Goldshard and she had like a reputation for being like a rebel or whatever. But this line, I think, could also be hinting at something more between them. And this is the theory that I was hinting about. Like, I have seen some people theorize that Goldshard and Ripred could have been siblings.
Whoa.
And I don't know, like, what the other evidence for that would be, but, like, this line seems to convey some sort of relationship between them, or some sort of history. And I think that it would be really interesting if Goldshard was Ripred's sister.
The Bane, like, ran directly towards Ripred.
Oh, yeah. And Gregor just assumed that it was because he was seeing another rat.
But there were a bunch of rats. Why would he run directly towards Ripred?
Especially the scary one with the big scar on his face. That's a good point, actually. Like,
if they smelled like the same kind of.
Yeah. And Ripred, the whole line about, like, not this one in particular, talking about the Bane. Like, maybe he's met the baby Bane before when he was, like, really little.
Yeah.
I feel like no, though, because then he would know that it was a baby. I think that Ripred just, like, knows Goldshard and Snare, so, like, he knows what they were like and what kind of parents they would have been to the Bane. I want to hear more theories, though, about, like, what was Goldshard like, because we really don't learn that much about her at all. Yeah.
I mean, clearly she was, like, protective.
Yes.
So that would, like, indicate good parenting, you'd think.
Yeah, and she's, like, a good fighter. She's super powerful.
I just keep thinking about, like, the fact that, like, she birthed the Bane. I don't know. For some reason, I keep thinking of, like, biblical, like, messaging or, like...
A little bit, yeah.
You'd think that she would probably be, like, revered a little bit. I don't know.
I have never considered that, but, like, I feel like that wouldn't be surprising if we did learn something about that. Like, all of the rats being like, wow, you're the mother of the Bane. Yeah, we just, like, never learn about that, though. But I would believe it. Gregor says goodbye to the Bane and gives Ripred the other candy bar to feed the Bane once they're gone. He climbs on Ares' back, and before they take off, Gregor asks if Ripred will let Twitch-Tip join his pack if she survives. Ripred asks if Gregor's gotten attached to her, and Ares says, as rats go, she is among our favorites, which is just great. Ripred says she can stay if she makes it back and tells them fly you high. Gregor replies, run like the river, Ripred, and they take off. The chapter ends with Gregor looking back to see the Bane eating the candy bar, paper and all, and the narration says, maybe it would work out in the end. You just keep on thinking that, Gregor.
Also, like, he saved that last candy bar specifically for emergencies. Like, it says that in the text.
Yeah.
And he left it with him.
Yes. I love that Ripred just can't open the wrapper, so he just gives the whole thing.
Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even think about that.
I think that it's just because, like, the rats can't open the wrapper, and also they don't mind eating the plastic or whatever, so he's just eating it.
Cute.
Yeah, it's really cute.
I really don't like what he says about Twitch-Tip, though.
Oh, yeah, he's so mean about it.
She can stay here if she can drag her pathetic hide back here, which literally sucks because, like, she's actually probably dead, right, as he's saying that.
Well, I think that actually we learn later that the evil rats, like, find her and keep her prisoner for a while.
That's worse.
Yeah, it is. It's really bad.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, but, like, definitely, like, she got Gregor almost all the way to the Bane, and she fulfilled her, you know, promise to Ripred, and he's just being, like, mean about her, and it's not even necessary. She's not even there. Like, you're just...
He's not even worried about her, like I would be.
I mean, maybe on the inside he's worried, but he's just, like, outwardly pretending to be like this. I think this must be, like, the character that he's putting on.
But last week you were talking about how manipulative he is, and that's true.
That's true, too, yeah. But I think that he's secretly, like, fond of her, the way that he is mean to Gregor, but he's secretly fond of Gregor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, even if he is manipulative to both Twitch-Tip and Gregor. Like, he can contain multitudes.
But it's such a contrast because, like, Gregor, like, made an effort to ask Twitch-Tip, like, what do rats say to each other in this instance? And he said it to her.
Yeah.
And he remembered it and said it to Ripred.
I noticed that too, yeah, that Ripred says fly you high and Gregor remembers that rats say run like the river, and he says that. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, it is sweet.
All right. We've been recording for a while. You think we should wrap it up?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Some really intense chapters, though.
Yeah. I picked these for a reason. I knew it was going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining me, Lily.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun to be here.
Before we wrap up, I'd just like to give a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the podcast. Last week, we hit 75 Tumblr followers and 50 YouTube subscribers.
Whoop whoop!
Yeah, super exciting. And Nate pointed out to me the other day that that's like more people than could fit in this apartment. Like, just trying to visualize those people. Like, we could fill a black box theater with all of those people. Like,
whoa.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Next week, we'll be covering chapters 24 and 25. If you want to share your theories, point out things we missed, or just let us know what you think of the podcast, go ahead and leave a comment wherever you're listening. As always, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, fly you high.